time?
No.
Okay.
We're out of the live stream, but OBS also has a streaming button, which doesn't actually send the info anywhere if there's no place to send it to, but it just is streaming. But nobody can see it. But I have officially started. This is the Honey Badger Radio number 78, Being a Man, the Festival After Show.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
What, you don't like the title?
No, I don't. It's not that
Should I have called it Irma Zergerden Derp?
No,
number
well, of course you should have called it something
69,
incomprehensible.
XDX Skullfucker
0.72.
Turbo Champion Edition.
0.72. 0.72. You always have to get the point something in there.
Hi.
Okay, no, it's not that. It's just the whole fucking concept of this.
The BAM Festival. It's what happens when I don't know. I'm starting to see that this is all like this is the poison that comes from academia. And
yeah.
And that's basically what we're looking at now is the outcome of that. This is why go ahead.
No, I'm just no, I agree. It's just fucking exhausting to look at. I don't even think we looked at more than 2 minutes of it. And Mike was saying that he just filmed it just to have something to do to take his mind off of the droning.
Well, it's so
boring.
It is. It's so, but it's like it's shit that we've heard so many times already. I mean, look, it's basically like it seems to me that it's basically like doing the Mass You Live In for a whole weekend. That's
3
what it
days
is.
of self-congratulatory virtue signaling, right?
Yeah.
How can you I would have ended up losing my shit.
You know, this must be triggering some sort of deep instinctual drive for it to be entertaining to these people for 3 days. Because the only thing that I can think of that would be entertaining, that just baldly entertaining and repetitive like this would be like eating or drinking.
Is there a Muslim man in was there one of those at the thing, Mike? Was there any Islam
there
stuff?
Talks I didn't go to. I could have sort of filled my day with activities, but I sort of broke it up into the bigger talks. But there were lots of other talks, and even a play, I think.
Any of you guys ever go to church camp when you were growing up?
No.
We don't really have summer camps in Britain. We don't have sort of camps that we go to over summer. It's not a thing, at all.
See, I went to church camp a couple of years during my teenage years. And it was just a week-long, it's a week-long retreat. And you spend the entire day doing activities related to religious theory and religious philosophy and religious virtue signaling and religious indoctrination. And it's not to say that religion itself is bad per se, but it is immersing yourself in your religious beliefs and discussion of your religious beliefs and being preached to and so on for a week. And I would imagine that this was somewhat similar to that. It probably had the same format, or a similar format. It sounds like it had a similar format. And aside from it being for adults instead of children, it sounds like it had a similar format to religious retreats. And if these people sort of follow this or participate in this or involve themselves in this the way people involve themselves in a church, it wouldn't necessarily be entertaining, but it would be occupying to the mind in a way that religious participation is occupying to the mind. And it is something that is it's a form of, it's stimulating in a way. I don't know how to describe this, but it makes you feel like you're doing something good, even though you're not doing anything at all.
Yeah.
No, I keep telling myself not to say anything that doesn't also apply, that couldn't also have applied to the ICMI, because that was over 3 days, and it was basically just being talked to by a series of people with similar ideas in common. And I'm always looking out for 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 the hypocrisy card being played on me. So I think what would you say if a feminist told you, your men's rights conference was exactly the same thing?
Yeah, I
why do
think
they have
a lot
problem
of
with it
times well, they shouldn't have a problem with it. Yeah, that would make it something that shouldn't bother them. But I think a lot of times people go to conferences simply to learn things, and there is some similarity. But the difference is, if you look at what people are learning at men's issues conferences, they're not learning how to call themselves victims. They're learning what the issues are and what steps people are suggesting to make change. And they're not looking at a narrative to make themselves feel helpless, but at a discussion on how we can fix the rift between men and women in society, and change the legal situation that men face, so that they are not being removed from their families, and they're not being put into a position of homelessness and things like that. So they're actually discussing real problems, and they're not denying human nature. You go to a situation like this, if somebody came to a men's rights conference and presented a bunch of information, and later on people looked at it and said, well, those statistics came from a study where this bias existed, and this bias causes those numbers to not be relevant, the men's rights community would turn around and not necessarily condemn the individual, but say, okay, well, that is not useful to us, and we're going to reject that approach, and we're going to take another look at this and figure out what the correct approach is going to be. What's actual vital statistics on this, not what this person said, but what the facts are. If you had somebody do that at a feminist conference, and then people started questioning it, other feminists would step forward to defend it, and there would be these accusations of, you're attacking women and you're being misogynist, and how dare you question this narrative, and so on. So that's one big difference between these conferences. And it's the same thing, I would compare that again to church camp. If someone at church camp starts quoting the Bible and setting up a narrative based on that, and then the kids, or at a retreat, the adults, go back to their church and they start bad-mouthing it and everything, people start calling them blasphemers and subversive and so on, and they end up in trouble with their church. So I would say it's still more like a church of feminism versus a community that's discussing issues in the men's rights end of it.
And the other thing is that most conferences are boring as hell, Mike. It's just the way conferences are. You sit and you talk about something. And
to be honest, most heavy metal festivals are kind of boring, and you think that wouldn't be possible. You think the one place in the world that's never boring is a music festival, but by golly, they can get pretty boring.
Yeah.
Well, what do you want?
Do you want to continue to cover this? Because
we could.
The life gets sucked out, or we could cover the Keck thing that I just put through.
We could.
Which would be a lot more entertaining.
Is there another Keck thing?
No, that's your Keck thing.
Okay.
There is one other thing we could do if you want something a little bit more relaxing and less sort of.
The Keck thing is just so fucking hilarious. It's just,
okay.
Or what were you suggesting? What do you want to do?
Well, I don't know if you would like to check it out, but Mad Cat he has a series of videos of a play that he's done, and it's about feminism in some dystopian future, and he's got a lot of voice talent. I think Hannah did some voices, NZ Clark did some, and people really like it, and I guess it's pretty hilarious too. But I haven't seen it yet, and it's 11 minutes long. I don't know if the patrons have seen it. I don't know if that's something that's an option, but we can do that too. Unless you want to do CAC, I don't really care. I just wanted to put out there as an option.
Well, how about this? We can do CAC and that.
Okay.
Because
So
it sounds like it's more like you're just gonna play it and then run it at
yeah,
the
we
end.
just
Right?
listen, and then like maybe we'd have like some ideas at the end. Hannah, were you in the first one?
I don't think that my part was in the first one. I think I'm farther along in it.
Okay.
Okay.
The
And then
first one is just exposition. So.
Yeah, it's mostly him reading in the first one, but it's really kind of cool. I did watch it, and I don't think I heard the part that I remember reading.
Okay.
No, we are not in the first bit.
The other thing is that I'm probably like I know that sounds terrible, but I'm probably gonna take off soon here, just because I've spent the whole day dealing with lawsuit shit, which is amazingly dispiriting.
Yeah, that is energy draining. It's
Yeah.
designed to be energy draining. They're trying to break you down.
Yeah, essentially to give you guys an update, since you're patrons, what's happened is they put a summary, a motion for summary judgment, and a summary judgment is essentially we don't go to trial if there is no merit found to the accusation. They just decide against us, and but it has to be a situation where it's no merit. So it doesn't mean that I'm wrong, but that I couldn't possibly rewrite. Essentially,
They being the Mary Sue.
yeah. Well, okay. The Mary Sue and the Calgary Expo put forth a request for summary judgment, and it's going out on the 16th, which is really frustrating because the best we can do right now is to have an application for the summary judgment to be dismissed, so that we just continue with the trial at the date. But we don't know if that application isn't successful, then we will have to defer the trial, which is probably the outcome that they're really after. They just want to defer the trial and try to increase the amount of money that we spend, increase the length of time this takes, disrupt our preparations for trial. And essentially what I have to do is I have to go through everything and figure out how to present a case for against summary judgment, which is not the trial case, because summary judgment, the evidence for summary judgment is that there is a question, not what the question's answer is. So I've been looking through their documents, their affidavits, and what they're essentially saying. And the only thing I can think of, there's two arguments for the summary judgment, is that they're saying that the defamation doesn't apply because the small claims court can't adjudicate over a defamation charge, except that we're not actually charging them with defamation. And also that the boilerplate in their contract saying that they can interpret this contract any way they like is grounds for this entire case to be dismissed. And then I have to go through and find the substantive merit aspects of our side of the trial, and it's just been spending the entire day just going through all of this legalese and trying to wrap my hand around the difference between answering the question and saying there is a question. And it's been exhausting.
Yeah, I guess the big question is, does that boilerplate interpretation exempt them from the promise they make of there being a specific process that they will follow before they kick somebody out?
Well, yeah.
Because that's one big question right there. Because if it does, then does making that promise constitute false advertising?
Yeah. Well, but that's a substantive question, right? That's
Yeah.
something that's actually something that needs to be decided at court. Apparently, according to the Consumer Protection of Alberta, if you can't do contracts like that, they're not admissible, or they're not acceptable. But
And
I
that's
don't know.
probably why.
I don't know what, like, there's always a possibility that their summary judgment will be upheld, in which case it's over. What I've been hearing from people is that This really should go to trial because there is so much question. And also that they have submitted with this summary judgment a substantive defense. So they're admitting that there is a question here. But it's like it can always go, legal shit can always go sideways on you.
Well, the best thing that you can do is make your statement and, hope the judge has more common sense than American judges do. And that's, it sounds to me like your court system is not as messed up as our court system, and the Mary Sue is relying on it being as messed up as our court system. Or at least it's not messed up in the same way as our court system, and the Mary Sue is relying on it being the same.
I think it's a more raw, maybe. Because there's certain aspects of this there is no procedure for. So I think the small claims court in Alberta is a little bit more, I don't know, Wild West or
It's
something.
interesting. Maybe we'll establish procedure for something like this.
Yeah, maybe we will establish procedure. I'm just hoping I get a sane judge who says, you know what, I can't, because what we're going to argue is that we can't have this argument without oral testimony, without being able to get all our affidavits together and all that other shit. And it's just fucking infuriating.
Yeah, I understand.
Anyway, that's the update, and I guess you guys can enjoy that. I never realized how much of a fight law is, and this is like the lesser court.
Yeah, when it gets into upper courts, half or more, maybe in some cases, 90% of each side's activity is designed to wear the other side down to the point where they just don't want to fight anymore.
Yeah, well, that's where we're at. This is a delaying tactic. Like when I first looked at it, I said to Harry, they're trying to delay the trial. And he said, I'm going to take a closer look at all of this. But then he got back to me today and he's like, yeah, I think this is what they want is a delay. Because they said they wanted two things. They either wanted the summary judgment or they wanted a delayed trial. To delay the trial. And I think what they're really after is the delay, not the summary judgment. Because there can't be the summary judgment essentially says there is no question. Not that the question necessarily be answered in affirmative for me.
On what grounds are they asking for a delay?
Essentially what they're going to, if they get the summary judgment, they are going to ask because of the summary judgment that they get a delay. If they don't get the summary judgment, then we just have the trial. But because we will have to address, what will happen is, okay, we're going to do an application to get the summary judgment dismissed. If that doesn't work and the summary judgment goes forward, we're going to have to delay the trial because we have to get our affidavits ready to answer the summary judgment, which means we'll need more time. Aren't
they late filing this to begin with?
Yeah, they are late. This is dropping this at the end, right? Like this is. Harry says that the courts don't look favorably on it, but this is par for the course for these individuals. They have done everything in their power to fuck around. And Harry says it's just because they don't want to go to trial because they're afraid of the loss.
All right. You said something. Sorry. You said something also in Skype about arguing hardship related to this. Will it help? Is there, if I submit a statement as to how it will affect me personally if the trial gets delayed?
I'm not sure if that will be helpful. If the summary judgment is upheld and it's not in their favor, they will probably be liable for costs. And I understand that what the cost for you is not necessarily entirely financial.
Yeah, no, the cost isn't financial. Because, you guys have said you'll cover the time off, so it's really a financial cost to you in that instance. But what's going to end up happening is because, I can't get those hours back, so I have to take that time off now, whether, because it's already December, whether we have the trial at that time or not. And so if we have the trial later, I'm going to
That's
have to
what they
take time
want.
off for the trial again. That cost isn't just to me, it's to my clients. And
Okay.
it's to my company. And it's a situation where it's an inconvenience for me and it makes me look bad at my job. But it's also, like, there'll get to be a point where my employer is going to say, look, we can't give you any more time off for this case. And that's
Yeah, I
what they're
know.
trying
and
to
that's,
do.
That's what they're trying to do.
And at some point, the argument can be made that they are trying to interfere with your ability to call witnesses by making it difficult for your witnesses to be part of the case.
Yes. And I will ask Carrie if a statement from you would help. I'm
And
guessing.
if that's an argument that can be submitted and will be helpful to the case.
I'm guessing that it'd probably be no at this point. We're just gonna have to roll the dice with the Jesus Christ. They just that they will uphold or dismissal of summary judgment. And that the trial will go ahead. And I don't know if the statement about the hardship that we're facing. I will bring it up in court that this is causing us hardship. And I think that it will be an argument but I don't know if it has to have a letter, an affidavit or anything.
And it might be a good thing just to include it for another reason. If they continue to play games like this, and at some point my employer says, we can't give you time off to go testify, I know that there is the capability of remote testimony, because I know it's done in other cases where they do something like a Skype call with video, and the individual testifies and can be cross-examined from a remote location. Having said ahead of time, this is causing us hardship, this might happen, then later, if it does happen, gives you the ability to argue, look, we told you this was a probability, now it's happened because of the opponent's actions, we are asking for the right to do this way, so that if my employer has to say, look, we can't give you any more time off, if you need me to testify as to a particular thing, I could still do it that way.
Yeah. I mean, sure, maybe write something up, and I'll ask Harry about it. We may not use it at the actual conference hearing or whatever the hell it's going to be on the 16th, but to have it on file, it doesn't hurt.
Yeah, it can be a very brief statement too. I'm sure I can keep it less than 500 words, possibly less than 250. Because it's real simple. My company is a charitable organization. They do not have a large employee pool. They don't have a large pool of temporary employees that they can pull from to cover hours when people ask for time off. If I'm forced to repeatedly ask for time off for the same hearing, eventually they will not be able to give it to me.
Yeah, I know, and it probably will be helpful. But let's, if you guys want, you can play the play, and I can just go home and sleep, or do the Keck thing. I think that I've given as much of an update on the legal items as I can, and I would like to go to sleep now.
Okay. I mean, like, we did spend time talking about the legal thing. Do you guys want to... I mean, sounds like some of you guys saw the play, but would you like to watch the Keck thing or the play, or do you have, like, another thing that we could look at? I'll give it to the patrons and let them decide. Silence, go for Keck. Maybe they don't care.
Just force Keck on them.
What?
Is Keck a video?
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
Is it, you don't want to watch, you can't watch a video?
It's just I'm in between stuff, so it's kind of annoying, but beyond that...
Well, you could go...
Well, I can go to the source article.
Yeah, he could go to the source article.
Whatever. Do whatever.
Wasn't that video that you did the Run Zircon?
Allison?
Yeah, it was the video we did the Rant Zerker on, but you guys haven't gotten Hannah and Brian's opinion. Or
Okay,
Mike's,
cool.
if Mike is still around.
I'm going to fall asleep soon. I'm very tired.
Mike
Yeah.
is falling asleep.
Well,
Go to bed.
I have to leave in about 15 minutes to start getting ready for work. So whatever you guys want to do is fine.
Just listen to the first couple minutes of the Keck
All right.
and give your opinion.
I've already got it set up, so I'll just put it in if you guys are in there, and then we'll put our thoughts. Let me play the remainder of this other video. Memory trap. If you're in there, it should automatically play the next video.
Yeah, it's playing.
Ahem! Activists from the alt-right played a key role in the US presidential election. In their online rantings, they frequently claim to worship a mythical creature called Keck. But who is he, and what does he really stand for? After Donald Trump's stunning presidential election victory, much attention has been devoted to the alt-right. This vast, leaderless digital activist movement positions itself on the American right, but it rejects basic tenets of constitutional conservatism, such as limited government, fiscal prudence, and inalienable individual rights in favor of white supremacist identity politics. The alt-right has become a nexus of controversy. Even Donald Trump has had to disavow of their support. As the alt-right rose to fame, their penchant for using seemingly bizarre coded symbols to spread racist propaganda has attracted heaps of attention. Even Democrat presidential candidate Hillary Clinton sought to capitalize on this. Her campaign highlighted the fact that the alt-right's mascot, the green cartoon frog Pepe, is associated with white supremacy. It's easy to understand why the alt-right turned the ugly bile green amphibian into their flag bearer of choice. Long before the alt-right started to misuse him, Pepe was already one of the most popular totally non-political memes, internet culture in-jokes among millennials and Generation X. Hijacking him and morphing into their propaganda vehicle allowed the alt-right to attract the attention of a whole lot of young internet users who would never have bothered reading a traditional political article or op-ed. Not so easy to understand, for many commentators, has been the alt-right's obsession with a mythical ancient Egyptian deity called Kek. Despite the barnstorming popularity he's enjoyed among alt-right fanatics, on Reddit's The Donald subforum, the possibly largest alt-right influence space on the internet, Kek has been mentioned over 4,000 times. Compare that to just 1,098 mentions of Jesus.
Whoa.
728 mentions of the Bible to a mere 277 references to Jefferson and only 389 mentions of George Washington. Clearly,
This is the article.
Imagine if we said Jesus every time we thought something was funny.
So yes, this is the article. It's not the article from Vice. It's on Motherboard. It's the other one. It's from.
The one where they took seriously the statement that had the word Jusanites in it.
Jews and
Yeah,
Knights.
Jews and Knights.
Somebody says Jusanites, and you take the sentence that they said it in seriously. There is something wrong with your head.
the alt-right care far more about the little-known Middle Eastern
Is
deity
that an asshole in his mouth?
Kek than about the traditional figureheads of American conservatism, such as the fact
I swear, look, it looks like a little dingleberry in there.
How's he supposed to eat without a hole?
Yeah, right? As he's supposed to eat. Well, Kermit never, he didn't have one, but I always, figured there must have been some explanation.
the religious right.
By the
Jesus
way,
Christ.
Yeah.
did you guys see that Godry Elfwick is claiming responsibility for
Yes.
the I was a alt-right article?
He's fake newsing the fake news. He's going deeper. He's seeing if he can get everyone to believe that he got everyone to believe. Oh, he's a clever devil, that one.
I kind of wonder because it's a very fake article. It was an obviously fake article. I kind of wonder if he actually did send it to them, if he can come up with proof that he did send it to them.
The point is that it's believable that the troll wrote this.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and the only way the Guardian could prove that he didn't would be if they could prove who did. And in order to do that, I think they would have to come out and show that someone on their editorial staff wrote it, because that's quite likely what happened if he didn't write this.
Yeah, it's proof that Keck's bounty is great.
He apparently has one more article written for The Guardian that should appear in kind of recent future, so if that pops up, he may be legit.
Unless someone from the Guardian sees it and they're like, okay, torpedo that article, it's fake.
Do they care at this point that it's fake?
Probably not.
Alright, let's continue.
In fact, one of the most popular posts on the Donald subreddit even depicts Keck as Jesus personified, and alt-righters frequently address him in worshipful language.
Why is it people on the regressive left they treat Jesus as a joke because they tend to be not just non-religious but anti-religious, except in cases like this where it's like, oh my God, they're treating him like Jesus, like this is some amazing thing, this is how important it is. But it's like, but I thought you guys didn't give a shit about Jesus. Which is it?
Yeah, they don't, but they expect everyone else to.
I think it's all supposed to be a persuasive article. It's sort of believable. You can see why someone would write an article like after they found out about the Egyptian Keck, and they went, "Hey, check it out, guys! I know it's a lol thing, but it's also an Egyptian god. Here's a few bits of information about that." But what if someone decided to frame that information in a way that would get alt-righters to go, oh, I see now, and I see the error of my ways, or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's a very bizarre sort of double bluff. No, I don't even know.
Who knows?
Why are they having a problem with the alt-right not caring about Jesus? That's my confusion.
Well, I think it's a sort of strategic play because they assume the alt-right are supposed to care about Jesus. They don't know what the alt-right is.
Oh, okay.
Because they think the right is supposed to care about Jesus. So the
I know
alt-right...
I care about Jesus. Don't you? Don't you know that Jesus saves?
Well, I mean, I care about
I
Jesus
hear
about
that.
as much as I care about the next guy.
Yeah, he uses double coupons and shops wisely.
Exactly. We can all learn a thing or three from Jesus.
He always makes sure to have a store's reward card because you get all of the deals if you use the store's reward card.
And he's also got a very clever way of, extending that food bill every month.
And
Buyer.
carpenters are hard to come by these days. So,
Okay.
okay, continuing.
But
What?
the kids town hall said, I think it was it kids town hall said that Jesus was a bad carpenter.
Oh, okay.
Keck has been mentioned in news coverage of the alt-right. Journalists usually don't explain why exactly the racist alt-righters have turned him into their idol. And even if they try, they don't usually get beyond noting that Keck is the ancient androgynous Egyptian deity, Keck, god of chaos, darkness. They also note Keck was sometimes represented as frog-like in ancient Egypt, which may link with the alt-right's ugly Pepe obsession.
Was that an accident or on purpose?
I think it's probably just an enormous coincidence. Although they are making like this sort of meme magic.
It's pretty amazing, though.
Yeah, it is, and it gets even more interesting when you find Okay, I've done a little bit of research. A little bit. I've done a little bit of research into the potential meme magic of the Pepe. So just give me a second. I gotta pull up my research because it is a little bit interesting. first of all, this is a WordPress. The Truth About Pepe the Frog and the Cult of Keck. I'm going to just send it through when I get back to this. It's right here. This is supposedly the source of all of this shit. This is the confession of the cult of Pepe, as it were. And then there's also what's a really interesting thing, which is I can't seem to find it. Let me do a search on YouTube. It's actually something from the 80s. It's a Pepe music frog. It's okay. Here we go. This is something that should appeal to you, Brian. It's very mystical. Well, maybe that wouldn't appeal to you, but it's certainly, since you said that it was interesting, all these coincidences. That's another one. If you open that link, you will see Pepe Chatelet.
Oh,
Pepe
yeah.
Chatelet. Yeah, it's from, I think, the 80s. Yeah, it's 1986. This was a frog instrumental named Point Emerging Probably Entering, or Pepe. Produced by Ass Art Pepe.
That's amazing.
Apparently, our spiritual greeting in the cult of Pepe is Chatelet. Chatelet, brothers and sisters. Chatelet.
And people have said Chatelet in chat too. Wow, this is like something's going on here that the universe knows. It's just too coincidental that things would come together this way.
You know what's okay?
Pepe is in the gaps.
Yeah, Pepe's in the gaps. You know, there are weird coincidences. There's a couple I mentioned during stream, but that just occurred to me. Another one. The first business I ever created, which didn't really work out with Jonathan, we called it Teal, like Teal Dare, and the symbol that we used was a frog.
What?
Was
the frog teal?
Yeah, the frog was teal. It was a teal frog, because the name that we used was teal.
Teal frog.
T-E-A-L. Teal frog. Yeah.
There is in an alternate universe. There is a YouTube, and there's a YouTuber named Teal Frog.
Teal frog.
I'm sure, even though it doesn't make any sense.
Chatelet.
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 Presumably in that universe, everyone's talking about Pepe the Deer.
Yeah, exactly. Pepe the Deer. That's right.
Maybe there's an intersection between alternate universes, but yeah, this was interesting. Like, there's a bunch of coincidences. Oh, and the coincidence that I wanted to talk about. First of all, when we achieved critical mass on the fundraiser, when we put up the rare Pepe Badger, or Badger Pepe. Do you remember that, Brian?
Yes.
Yes, that's when we achieved success on the fundraiser, was via the application of the rare Badger Pepe. And something that was pointed out after we acquired the Badger Cave, the number of the Badger Cave is 113, and the number of my house in Kelvington is also 113. So we got a triple as well, in addition to success through the almighty Pepe, or Kek.
Keke.
Yeah, lots of coincidences. Anyway, continue.
Praise Keke. Okay.
Praise Kek.
Of course, the fact that Kek is associated with darkness and chaos may well explain why the alt-right chose Kek, of all the many Egyptian gods they could have selected. Just like some of the postmodernist student far left, the alt-right rejects universalism, the concept of truth and ethical morality. Alt-rightists favour the primacy of a subjective, emotional, collectivist racial sense of belonging over timeless ideals like individual human dignity, individual rights, and free market rationality. In that sense, the alt-right is a classical anti-enlightenment movement that seeks to keep people trapped in the emotional safe space groupthink of Plato's cave, rather than allowing them to enter a rational, free-thinking world where reason and truth can challenge and offend emotive identities. No wonder they would prefer the darkness of the cave over the light of reason. But why would alt-righters, who loathe Middle Eastern peoples and cultures, worship an ancient Middle Eastern god? Why would snowflake racists who never stop whining about the decline of white Western civilization fall in love with an Oriental deity?
I wonder how they're gonna rationalize this shit.
Oh my god, it's astounding. Actually, this is a
Wow.
10. This is like a fucking 20 out of 10 in mental gymnastics.
9 out of 11.
Not yeah.
Okay.
Well, 11 out of 9. Okay, go for it.
Goes up to 11.
After all, a large number of neo-Nazis even reject modern Western Christianity because of the view it is too Jewish, too Semitic, too Middle Eastern, and wow. Never mind the long history of medieval European Christian anti-Semitism. The decentral and disorganized way in which the alt-right works makes it hard to chart the origin of their symbols, let alone find alt-righters engaging in a detailed discussion of why Kek in ancient Egypt was selected for reverence. But here's what we know. The Egyptian pharaohs were some of the first and most vicious Jew-haters in the ancient world. American Jewish columnist Jeff Jacoby once reflected on the similarities between the murderous persecution of Jews by Hitler and the Egyptian pharaohs. He wrote...
Can I point one thing out?
What?
I think that the pharaohs probably persecuted more Semitic groups or other groups of people besides the Jews, whereas with Hitler, the focus, I mean, there was the gypsies and the other undesirables, but for the most part, it was
Deplorables.
Jewish people, at least in the majority. So there's a slight difference there. I just wanted to point that out.
What even is this?
Addison is an ancient Jewish Holocaust denier.
Oh my fucking god, you're right. I am a Keck apologist.
How could you?
I know. No, but I'm just saying that I don't think they were specifically anti-Semitic. I think
No,
that
probably not.
they probably just, generally hated everyone and subjugated everyone.
Yeah, slavery was quite common in Egypt, so...
Yeah.
It was
Okay.
It was just a product of living in a time period where culture clash happened and it was often violent.
Well, and there was, the whole royalty elitist thing, and of course they're better than everyone else, and so they have no problem hating everyone. And since some of them were inbred and completely nuts, you can end up with a great deal of hatred and murder and foul behavior and all that jazz.
Plus, somebody had to build those pyramids.
Yeah, now it's a tourist trap. Thanks, Hebrews. Moving on.
We
It's a
triggered their
genocide.
trap!
And in both cases, the perpetrators justified their savageries by claiming that they were the real victims, threatened by the people they intended to wipe out. Some historians have called Hitler a 20th century pharaoh, see chapter 6. So it shouldn't be too surprising that neo-Nazi alt-righters find something to like about ancient Egypt. In fact, neo-Nazis
Wow, that was some incredible gymnastics, and I guess they're not done yet.
No, they're
have had
not.
a long history of putting their other racial prejudices aside in order to collaborate with anti-Semites who are not white. The German NPD party, for example, has had links to radical Islamists and anti-Semitic group Hizbut Tahrir. Individuals connected to Oklahoma and the neo-Nazi terrorist and mass murderers Timothy McVeigh may have had contacts with the Philippine jihadist kidnapping gang Abu Sayyaf, according to a U.S. congressional report.
So not only do they hate Muslims-
Exodus, the part of the Torah that records
Not
Yeah.
only does the alt-right hate Muslims, they also love radical Islamists.
Ooh, somehow at the same time.
Yeah, well, no, there was the connection there, and it's all like he said, it's all very loose, like the loose way that the alt-right works. All of these connections connect because the alt-right works in mysterious fucking ways.
Shadow.
Hey guys, I gotta go. I will talk to you later, okay?
All
Okay,
right,
good
Hannah.
night.
Chatelet,
Night,
Anna. We only have about 3 more minutes. Okay.
the Egyptian persecution of the Jews in their discussions about the meaning of Kek. So, for example, in an alt-right thread about Kek worship, one racist rants, "Why HWH, the monotheistic usurper? And its Jewish progencies slander Egypt with their fake Holocaust tier Book of Exodus. Kek is the herald of all the old gods, and he has every reason to hate the Jews and their demon Yahweh. Abrahamism will feel his wrath, In another Keck-focused online thread, a commenter chimes in. Your usurper Semite demon Yahweh and its proto-communist spawn infuriated the gods of Egypt, including Keck.
What am I listening to?
You're listening to the products.
I think
of
this
a
is the one that I read on the polecat, but I'm not sure.
You're listening to the products of a mind that cannot understand satire. It's so
No.
fixed into this black and white thinking.
This is wow. This is incredible.
Although Karen did point out the spirit cooking thing might have been just somebody making a joke.
Might have been, and then other people were saying it's like it was like performance art or something. Still weird,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, okay,
Like-
continue.
hail Satan.
Which their chosen Jewsanites stole. Egypt's magic to make Kabbalah and slandered the very reputation of Egypt herself in the
This is like the fucking plot to a new fucking Indiana Jones movie. They should make one involving Keck. I would watch that in the New York Minute.
Book of Exodus. It also hasn't escaped the notice of alt-righters that the legend of Exodus features a punitive infestation of frogs as one of the signs of divine condemnation for the Pharaoh's anti-Semitic hatred. In a movement as focused on a twisted sense of irony and postmodern inverted meanings as the alt-right.
Okay,
you may
all
well expect-
right. You understand that it's focused on irony and inverted meanings. Could it be that this is satire? I mean,
Yeah.
how could you have so little self-awareness that you
It's
are
just like-
aware?
Shit
That the-
posting come to life.
Yeah, that you're aware that the community shitposts or whatever the fuck you're calling the alt-right, whatever community it is that you're referring to with this made-up term, you recognize that it's full of irony and reverse meanings, but you can't just think that maybe this is just someone having it go, just putting it on, just being satirical, especially the Jewsanites.
Jewsanites.
Jewsanites. I mean, Hitler obviously made a mistake when he killed the Jews. He's after the Jewsanites.
Yes, he was. Maybe he should have been going after the Jewsanites instead of the Jews. He may have killed the wrong people. That's why things haven't changed. Not
It's
only
so
did he,
fucked up.
so Hitler did do something wrong. He went after the wrong people.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So Hitler didn't do anything wrong.
He's a good boy.
Explain why they have chosen to turn Kek, the frog-like Egyptian deity of darkness, into their modern super god as they spread fascist Jew hatred.
Could you? How did you
But
keep?
also-
How did you keep it together while you were doing this, Mike? It was just not one take.
It took a few takes.
Okay.
You can see towards the end, I'm taking more and more takes. Yeah,
Okay.
more cuts. Yeah.
Can I point something out? They're not just spreading fascistic Jew hatred. They're also spreading fascistic Islamophoboapologia.
Yeah, Islamophobe apologia, vitamina vegemin.
Damn those Jewsowits.
The Jewsowits, yeah. The Hebrewsowits.
The Hebrewsowits of the Jewsanites.
Okay.
Chan's Paul Forum, one of the birthplaces of the modern alt-right, this has been openly acknowledged. One thread notes, long time ago, Jews cursed Egyptians with frog plagues to set their people free. Now 4chan is cursing Jews with plague of keks.
Isn't 4chan dead? Aren't we all 8chan now? Isn't that the new place? Or is Poll still on 4chan? And
I
also,
think Pole's still on 4chan. I don't know.
is Poll like the proto alt-right? Like, were they the alt-right before the alt-right was cool? Were they? I'm serious. I think they were, right? I mean,
Yeah, you know what? There's no real point to trying to figure out the etymology of all this or the formulation.
I'm
It's
like-
just
I'm curious about the
pure
history.
fucking chaos.
I'm trying to find the history. Well, he is the god of chaos. That's
Yeah.
how this.
Well, darkness. He's actually technically the god of darkness, not chaos.
They said chaos and darkness, but
Apotheos is like the god of chaos or something. Okay, apotheosis. Okay, continue.
Of course, many, probably even the vast majority of alt-righters who talk about Keck may not be aware of Keck's modern-day association with people who celebrate the ancient Egypt's anti-Semitism. Just like the student radicals of 1968 mostly worshipped totalitarian mass murderer Lenin because they thought it was a trendy, counter-cultural thing to do. Many alt-righters may celebrate Keck because they see him as the en vogue symbol for showing disdain towards mainstream democracy and social tolerance. But that is exactly why critics of the alt-right must work to expose the ugly anti-Semitic hidden meanings that really lie behind the movement's use of figures like Keck and Pepe. When the use of these symbols is exposed as yet another propaganda trick to subconsciously draw these people into a vicious cycle of stale old Jew hatred and Hitler worship, the alt-right's seemingly countercultural meme magic loses its coolness appeal to the disenchanted, internet-savvy teenagers they seek to recruit. Some prominent alt-right activists, including the well-known vlogger Ramsey Paul, were quick to dissociate themselves from the Hitler-saluting shambles that...
Okay, stop this. This is like the fucking anti-drug, like pothead shit that they would put out in the 60s.
it's another chick track.
Yeah,
chick
it's...
tracks.
Have you ever watched Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas?
Mm-hmm.
The I don't know what they called them. The pothead, they had his pants are covered with semen from constantly jacking off when he can't find a rape victim. Why do they call this a roach? In the pothead mind, and it's like this is like somebody who just isn't with it, trying to.
I think they're desperately trying to find a way to frame Keck as basically trying to use the Keck. The memes as a means to create guilt by association by rationalizing it. They're trying to rationalize the irrational, for one. But then, like, while they're at it, they're trying to find a way to make it really dark and scary and culty and creepy by, drawing these weird conclusions from... I mean, they're like, this person's room has to have, like, the red yarn that's connecting to all these things, like, God of Destruction, pyramids... Hebrews, Jewsowitz, the bankers, Poll, Trump, like all of this has to be, white super, the KKK. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. There should be like is there a Grand Dragon or Grand Wizard or whatever the fuck they call him that wears green? Because that would be perfect. He would totally use that.
Well, the Grand Dragon, obviously, with the lizard motif.
Yes. I thought that KKK Grand Wizards wore red for some reason, but maybe they wear green. Maybe the one at the very top wears green, like and he also runs Pole, and he is directly descended from Egyptian pharaohs, but at the same time is a white man who likes Islam extremists. Yeah, that's it. He's a banker in the 1%.
There's probably a black guy at the top, just like in Star Wars.
Self-proclaimed alt-right victory conference earlier this month turned into, Ramsey Paul even suggested that it was over. Alt-right as a brand, now that it had been associated with the distinctively uncool aesthetics of the salutes. He wrote, "Most normal people can support the alt-right ideas of self-determination, protection of borders, good trade deals, America first, etc. But normal people can't support anything that is associated with Nazism. The brand is now impossible to rehabilitate. Just watch how quickly many alt-right followers will be running away from the movement's core symbols when the public starts to recognize them for the hateful obsession they really represent."
How?
It defies the mind. It defies explanation. This is what our establishment media has been reduced to. Insanity. Like they basically they just don't get it. They're not with it. They're not hip. And they insist that everybody who is evil.
I bet I bet a Jesuit wrote this. That's why.
Jesuit, yeah, those damn
It's one of the last of them. The one of the last in his line. He's like a Highlander, but doesn't actually do any fighting.
Jesuit. What was the actual term that they used? Jesuits? Jesuits.
Jesuits, I think.
Jesuits.
Like
yeah.
Jesuinites.
Jesuinites, yes, Jesuinites.
Jesuinites.
I'm sorry.
Like it's a mineral. Big rock of Jesuinite.
Oh, it's made of shekel. Oh no.
I gotta go to bed. So
It's the Nazis' kryptonite.
It makes
God.
Nazis
Night.
weak. All right, good night,
God
guys.
bless you all.
Chatelet. Chatelet, my brothers. And we're out.